Tamika to gather her belongings and leave her house immediately, asserting that she would not be talked down to like a child in her own home. The words struck like a knife through Tamika's heart. Faced with such harshness, she was conflicted between wanting to fight for her place in the only home she'd known and the realization that staying might not be worth the emotional turmoil. In a moment of vulnerability, Tamika felt the sting of her mother's rejection. As she slowly picked up her belongings, her heart ached with sadness and anger. On one hand, she wanted to fight to stay in her childhood home. On the other hand, the thought of staying and enduring more emotional torment was exhausting. Tamika felt a blend of hurt and disbelief, her voice quivering as she asked, "Are you seriously going to throw me out on the streets?" The gravity of the situation weighed on her, and her eyes searched her mother's face for any sign of compassion or regret. The coldness in her mother's voice sent a chill down Tamika's spine. She could see the firmness in her mother's eyes as she was resolute in her decision. "I will not ask you again," her mother repeated, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. The finality of her words hung in the air, punctuating the reality Tamika now faced. Tamika's voice trembled as she gathered her courage and replied, "All right, mother, I will gather my things and leave." Tamika's heart was in pieces as she processed the reality of the situation. The pain of her mother's callousness was palpable, a deep cut that went beyond the surface. As Tamika packed her belongings, tears streamed down her face. The weight of the moment was too much for her to bear. She pulled her younger sisters close, hugging and kissing them goodbye. Their innocent eyes, now filled with confusion and sadness, mirrored the pain in Tamika's heart. The memories of sharing moments with her siblings, laughing and playing, now felt like a distant past. The imminent separation from them was a painful reminder of the harsh reality that lay before her. Tamika found herself sitting at a bus stop, her tears blending with the raindrops that had begun to fall. The cold rain did little to numb the pain within her chest as she cried uncontrollably, her emotions reaching a breaking point. The pitter-patter of the raindrops echoed the rhythm of her broken heart. Every drop felt like a tear from the heavens, an empathetic response to her pain. Yet, Tamika found no comfort in the rain's gentle embrace, only a deeper sense of loneliness and despair. The rain continued to fall as a car pulled up to the bus stop. A woman leaned out and called out to Tamika, her voice a gentle contrast to the harsh reality Tamika had just experienced. Tamika, still weeping uncontrollably, was surprised when the woman stepped out of her car and sat down beside her. She had no idea who this stranger was, and in her disoriented state, she felt a mix of caution and curiosity. "Who are you?" Tamika asked. "How did you know my name?" The woman, sensing Tamika's confusion and weariness, smiled softly and replied, "I'm sorry for startling you. My name is Maria," the woman said. "I'm your aunt, your father's sister." She told Tamika her father was here and wanted to surprise them, but was unable to locate them at the old house. The woman, Maria, continued her conversation, revealing a connection that Tamika hadn't expected. Tamika, her surprise growing, shared the painful truth with Maria. "We moved shortly after my father migrated," she said, her voice tinged with sadness. "My mother didn't want him to find out." The mention of her mother's actions stung deep, reminding Tamika of the betrayal she had just experienced. Maria, Noticing the pain in Tamika's words, put a hand on her shoulder, offering a silent gesture of comfort. Maria, concern etched into her eyes, gently questioned Tamika. I can see you have bags with you, and you were crying. Can you tell me what happened? Tamika's heart felt heavy with the recent events, and for a moment she debated whether to share. But the genuine care in Maria's eyes and the feeling that there was someone who could understand compelled her to speak. Taking a shaky breath, Tamika began to recount the difficult evening. I had an argument with my mother, she started, her voice quivering. It was really bad. She told me to leave. Maria was visibly shocked by the revelation and immediately extended a helping hand. Come with me, Tamika, she said softly. You should see your father. I'll drive you to him. The reunion between Tamika and her father was an overwhelming emotional experience. The years of separation, the pain of absence, and the joy of reunion blended in a moment of poignant beauty. Tears streamed down their faces as they shared heartfelt words, expressing the depth of their longing and the power of their love. Tamika shared every painful detail with her father, the struggles she'd endured and the difficult days at home with her mother. The more she spoke, the more her father's anger grew, a protective fire lighting his eyes. Tamika's father's voice was filled with a mix of pain and disappointment. Why didn't you tell me all of this when we spoke over the phone? He asked, his eyes searching hers for an explanation. Tamika's voice trembled as she confessed. My mother was always close by. She warned me not to say anything. The weight of her secret lay heavy on her shoulders, knowing she had withheld the truth from her father. The next day, driven by a mixture of anger and concern, Tamika and her father visited her mother's house. Her father's eyes scanned the place, taking in the environment that had been a part of Tamika's life for some time now. As they watched from their car, waiting for Tamika's mother to leave, Tamika felt an urgent need for action. Without a second thought, she hurried towards the house. Her heart ached as she thought of her younger siblings trapped within the walls of this dysfunctional home. With a determined step, she entered the house, determined to bring her twin sisters to safety and reunite them with their father. Once inside, Tamika found her twin sisters anxiously waiting for her. They knew something was wrong, and their innocent eyes pleaded for reassurance. Without wasting a moment, Tamika scooped them up, holding both girls tightly in her arms. Come with me, she whispered to them, her voice a mixture of determination and love. We're going with Dad now. The twins, feeling a mixture of confusion and relief, clutched onto Tamika tightly. They could sense her determination and the urgency in her voice, and they didn't question her decision. Hand in hand, Tamika led her sisters outside, her heart filled with fierce protectiveness. As they reached the car, Tamika's father's eyes widened upon seeing the twin girls he had not seen in a long time. His arms instinctively extended, and he pulled all three of them into a tight embrace. His eyes welled up with tears, and his voice cracked as he spoke. My girls, you're finally safe. Tamika and her twin sisters huddled together in their father's arms, a mix of relief and gratitude washing over them. They felt the warmth and safety of his embrace, a stark contrast to the coldness they had endured at their mother's home. As the family reunion continued, Tamika brought up a difficult question. Daddy, I'd really love for the twins to come and live with me. she said, her voice filled with a mix of hope and anxiety. But I'm not sure if Mom will allow it. Her father nodded, understanding the complexity of the situation. He shared her concern, knowing that convincing their mother might not be an easy task. Tamika's words echoed with a mix of disappointment and resignation. All Mom cares about is her party lifestyle and her image, she said, her voice tinged with bitterness. She doesn't care about us or what we do. Tamika's father, with a strategic plan in mind, shared his plan with her. I'm going to stop sending her money, he stated firmly. Once she starts struggling with money, she'll have to let the twins stay with you. Tamika nodded, understanding the plan's logic. It was a tough decision, knowing her mother's reliance on her father's financial support. But if it meant providing a stable home for her twin sisters, she was willing to try. The father looked into Tamika's eyes with determination and assured her, I believe this is the right thing to do. Your mother needs a reality check, and this will force her to prioritize her children's well-being over her own selfish desires. As their father returned abroad, he followed through on the plan and stopped sending money to their mother. Instead, he began transferring the funds to Tamika, who used it responsibly to provide for her twin sisters without their mother's knowledge. Despite the change in financial support, Tamika's siblings were still living with their mother, as that was a part of their father's plan. He believed she had to experience the consequences of her actions and understand the importance of prioritizing her children's needs. After a few months had passed, Tamika gathered her courage and made her way to her mother's house. Her heart pounded with a mixture of nervousness and determination. She knew the conversation she was embarking on would not be an easy one. As the door opened, Tamika's mother stood before her. A mixture of surprise and irritation on her face. She eyed Tamika curiously, knowing that a difficult conversation was about to take place. What do you want? Her mother asked, her arms crossed defensively. Tamika swallowed, her voice shaky but resolute. I want to ask you something. Something important, she said, looking her mother in the eye. Her mother raised an eyebrow, her expression guarded. All right, ask, she replied, clearly not expecting a pleasant conversation. I was wondering if I could take the twins to live with me, Tamika finally blurted out, her voice tinged with nervousness. Her eyes searched her mother's face, awaiting a reaction. Her mother's face hardened, and a look of annoyance crossed her features. Why on earth would I want to give them to you, huh? She responded, her tone dismissive. They're better off with me. Tamika had expected resistance, but her mother's blunt refusal still stung. She took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. I can provide a stable home and care for them, she said, her voice firmer now. Please, they deserve a chance at a better life. And what about me? Her mother snapped back. I'm their mother, not you. You're not equipped to handle the responsibility. Tamika felt her temper flaring, but she took another deep breath. I'm their sister, she shot back, fighting the urge to raise her voice. We all deserve a chance at happiness. They can still visit you, but they deserve stability and love, Mom. Tamika drew in a deep breath, her emotions raw. She looked into her mother's eyes with love and disappointment. I know you're my mother, and I'll always love you, she began. But it hurts to see that your focus is on your lifestyle rather than us. The twins need a stable home. and I'm willing to provide that for them. Her mother's face tense, visibly irritated by the truth in Tamika's words. She scowled and retorted, "You know nothing about the responsibilities of being a parent. You're just a child yourself." Despite the back and forth argument, time passed and Tamika's mother's resistance began to soften. Even though she refused to admit it, the absence of financial support from their father was taking a toll on her mother. She found herself becoming increasingly unable to handle the responsibility of caring for the twins. Yet, her pride and stubbornness prevented her from overtly admitting her struggles. Eventually, her mother's attitude shifted from stubbornness to resignation. She reluctantly acknowledged the truth that she could no longer provide adequately for the twins. Her voice softened a little as she agreed to let them go with Tamika. "Fine," she said, her tone begrudging. "You can take the twins, but don't come back complaining to me when you realize how hard it is to take care of them." Tamika entered the house to gather her younger sister's belongings, taking extra care in packing their essentials. Once their bags were packed, she guided the twins toward the exit. They looked up at her with a glimmer of uncertainty, not fully understanding what was about to unfold. With a gentle smile, Tamika reassured her sisters, "Come on, girls. We're going to have a new adventure together." The twins followed their older sister out the front door, leaving behind the only home they had known. 2 years later, the day of Tamika's graduation had arrived. As she prepared herself, her thoughts were heavy with anticipation. Just then, she heard a knock on the door. Opening it, she was met with a wonderful surprise. It was her father and aunt. Their faces lit up with excitement, seeing Tamika dressed in her cap and gown. Her father's eyes welled up with tears, and his voice was filled with pride as he spoke. "Look at you, my dear. I can't believe you're graduating today." Her aunt chimed in, her smile warm and full of affection. "You've worked so hard, Tamika. Your father and I are incredibly proud of you." Tamika couldn't help but feel a rush of emotions, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. She managed to smile through her tears, feeling the weight of her happiness and approval. "Thank you both," she said softly. "It means the world to me to have you here today." Her father hugged her tight, his embrace full of warmth and support. "We wouldn't have missed this for anything," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "We're here to celebrate this wonderful accomplishment with you." On their way to Tamika's graduation ceremony, her father made a surprise stop at her mother's house. The tension in the air was palpable as they neared the destination. There was an unspoken understanding that Tamika's mother was unaware of her academic success and had not communicated with her father in months. Tamika's heart raced with excitement and anxiety, knowing that the confrontation with her mother was inevitable. They sat in the car silently, bracing themselves for what was about to unfold. Her father stepped out of the car, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. He approached the door and knocked firmly, the sound echoing through the air. A moment later, the door opened, revealing Tamika's mother standing on the other side. Her eyes widened as she saw her husband standing before her. A look of surprise etched on her face. A flicker of understanding crossed her features, her anxiety growing as she realized that he may have uncovered the truth about her behavior and financial struggles. "I have a surprise for you," he said. Her expression softened slightly, her curiosity piqued by her husband's words. "A surprise?" she echoed, crossing her arms defensively. "What kind of surprise?" He gave her a knowing smile, his eyes holding a hint of satisfaction. "You'll see," he replied, his tone cryptic. "Why don't you come outside for a moment?" She hesitated, her natural skepticism wearing with her curiosity. After a moment, she reluctantly followed her husband outside. As they stepped out, her eyes widened even further, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. Standing beside the car were Tamika's twin sisters, followed by Tamika herself, proudly wearing her graduation cap and gown. Behind them, her father and aunt stood proudly, watching the scene unfold. Tamika's mother stumbled back a few steps, her face paling as she absorbed the sight before her. Her eyes darted between Tamika and her sisters, finally understanding the full extent of what her husband had discovered. You knew?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You knew everything." Tamika's father stepped forward, his tone firm but gentle. "Yes, I found out about your financial situation and how you treated our children. That's why I stopped sending you money and cut off all communications." Tamika's mother's face hardened, her pride bristling at the truth being laid bare. "You had no right to intervene," she hissed, her anger beginning to surface. "They were my responsibility, not yours." "That's where you're wrong," Tamika's father replied firmly. "They are our children, not just yours. I had every right to step in and protect them from your neglectful behavior." Her eyes blazed with anger, but there was a hint of defensiveness and guilt in her voice. "I was doing my best," she protested weakly. "It's not easy raising children on your own." "That may be true," her husband responded, his voice a mixture of understanding and disappointment. "But it doesn't excuse the fact that you prioritize your own comfort and lifestyle over their well-being. Our children deserved better, and they deserved a stable home." Her shoulders sagged, her defiant demeanor faltering. She knew deep down that her husband was right, but her pride prevented her from fully acknowledging her mistakes. "What about you?" she retorted, seeking to turn the tables. "You abandoned us for foreign shores, leaving me to deal with everything alone." The father's expression remained unwavering, his response cold and detached. "You wanted to live a party lifestyle, so enjoy it," he said stoically. With that, he climbed back into the car, his daughters following suit. As they drove away, Tamika's mother stood by the gate, with anger and shock on her face, watching the car as it disappeared into the distance. Tamika glanced back at her mother through the mirror, feeling a bit of sadness and relief. There was a sense of closure, but also a lingering worry about her mother's future. As the car drove further away, she focused on the future ahead, her mind turning to the graduation ceremony that awaited. The graduation ceremony was a moment of triumph for Tamika as she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. Her father and aunt cheered loudly from the audience, their eyes brimming with pride. Her sisters applauded enthusiastically, their faces filled with admiration. As Tamika accepted her diploma and smiled for the cameras, she couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. This moment was not just about her achievement, but also about the journey she had been on and the support from her family. As she returned to her seat, Her father and aunt enveloped her in a tight embrace, congratulating her with words of praise and love. On the car ride home, the atmosphere was filled with joy and contemplation. Tamika's father broke his silence, his voice heavy with emotion. "I'm incredibly proud of you, Tamika. You've accomplished something incredible, and I couldn't be happier to be here to celebrate it with you." The moral of the story is that family is built on love, support, and sacrifice. It reminds us that even in the face of challenges and obstacles, the bonds between family members can prevail. It also highlights the importance of standing up for what is right and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Ultimately, it teaches that love and determination can overcome even the most difficult situations, and that family is the foundation of our strength and resilience. Thank you, everyone, for coming back to our channel. We hope that you enjoy this beautiful, beautiful Jamaican tale. We see you in the next one. Have a great day. Be blessed.